Good evening,
Hi.
good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, and as well as our other streaming outlets. And I must say that this show was highly anticipated. This is a segment within Let's Talk, what I call Let's Talk After Dark, and we had stopped it, not for no particular reason. So we wanted to bring it back. So tonight I have a very, as I would like to say, a very interesting and unique young lady joining the show. Her name is Brazil. She has a podcast on Spotify as well as other iTunes and Apple Tunes or whatever they call it, as well as some other streaming outlets. Her podcast is called Freak Me Harder. She is a sexologist. So, one of the things within the Let's Talk family, what I would like to say is we want to always be able to have conversations that will not make us uncomfortable, but will take off the shackles of being uncomfortable. Because a lot of times, people don't want to have certain conversations because they feel like those conversations make them cringe. And as they get older, they become the old get off my lawn type of people. So they forget that sexuality is a part of being human. So me and this young lady decided to do a show together. So here we are. Brazil, what's going on?
I'm chilling. I'm feeling absolutely fabulous. The energy is so great right now. I can't wait. I cannot wait to get started.
Well, tell us a little bit about you, Brazil. What made you decide to start a podcast?
Okay, so I love to talk, and I love to talk about sex. At the time, I was going to college, and I was taking psychology. I pre-med major, double major in psychology, and a minor in African American studies. And so my professor, Professor Mazari, who's a psychology professor, also had a sex class. So I took that, and I feel that to me, sex is extremely important. I mean, some people think that sex is just like the icing on the cake, but me personally, with the experience that I've had and through scientifical reasonings, I feel that sex is the whole freaking cake.
So one of the things I noticed, I did have to listen to your podcast. I did find your podcast very interesting. How long have you been doing the podcast?
I've been doing Freak Me Harder erotic sex talk for about 2 years.
About 2 years,
Yeah.
and I'm well aware that you were picked up by Adam and Eve, and I know that was big. For those that don't know, in the podcast world, in the content creator world, is that when you want to get picked up by Spotify, these type of things will sponsor you. I don't know if a lot of people are aware where Joe Rogan basically signed $100 million deal with Spotify. So that actually was a win for all the podcasters when somebody gets picked up and get that type of contract. So when you stick to a subject and you get picked up and you get sponsorship, it helps grows your channel. This young lady's channel is huge. By the way, she has a nice target audience, and that's a good thing to be able to have that type of audience and know, okay, I got these amount of people. I want to open it up. One of the things about podcasting is that she can look at her analytics. She'll know the age bracket, what country listens to her the most, whole bunch of different analytics that you see that a lot of these partnerships offer for the content creator. So let's talk about you being sponsored by Adam and Eve. What brought that about?
Well, Adam and Eve, to me personally, is one of my favorite online stores to shop. So I know how big they were. And so basically, I ran out of a sponsorship with Anchor. Anchor was paying me, and they were paying me well. And when that ran out, I stated, I need another sponsor to get me paid. I mean, in order to love something, you'll do it for free until you blow up. But for me, it's a little hard for me to continue and not get paid because I put a lot into my work. But I say that to say I wrote up a proposal and I spoke to the CEO of Adam and Eve, and I suggested that she listen to one of my episodes. And she said, okay, we'll listen to your episode if we like it. We'll do business. And sure enough, Erica loved it. Erica loved it. She loved the concept. She stated how much I would get paid. And it's, it's history from there. So I honestly did like a 5-page proposal to Adam and Eve. And for my first on my own, that was pretty big for me. That was pretty big.
Wow. And I also, for everybody in the audience, I also have a code for anybody that shops Adam and Eve. This is her code, adamandeve.com. The offer code before you check out is Freak Me, and you get how much percent off?
You could get 25 to 50% off.
25 to 50% off. So that's the code. So now we're going to continue into our great discussion. So you're on this journey. You said, okay, I'm going to start this podcast. It's picking up. I get picked up by Spotify. I get picked up. Adam and Eve sponsors me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how far are you trying to take it? Like, do you have a goal?
Honestly, before, I didn't expect it to get this big. I honestly didn't expect it to get this big. I mean, I started my podcast in my closet to drown out the sound. Like I did research on drowning out the sound and, using cardboard boxes and things of that nature in my closet while I get claustrophobic. But I started really like getting into the sounding and the professionalism of it. And the more content I put out and the more of the subscribers I received, the more it gave me it just gave me the drive to continue. People like to really hear me talk and really hear me whispering and that's like one of my terms that I use. I'm like, if they love it, then I love it. So I'll continue to do it,
So do you in the podcasting realm on that aspect? Because my channel is more like virtual.
Okay.
And then like, I use my audio to podcast Anchor as well. So you get a lot of tell us some about the fan feedback because I know that you could write reviews. Tell us some of that stuff. Tell us the good and the bad of that.
Well,
good, bad, and creepy. Let's just say that.
I get all great reviews. However, I do get freaky people. I think that's the most thing. People that are big time business people and or husbands that are living a double life, or females that are trying to find the right man. And one fan of mine, he's never experienced being with a man, and he has a high profile type of man, and he wanted my advice on how he should go about it. And basically I jokingly but seriously said, well, I think that if this is something that you want to pursue it in another city and keep it to yourself, and take baby steps with it, because you fantasize about it, but when you do it, you might not like it. You know what I'm saying? It's like a video game. Like we play these video games, and sometimes we kind of put our shoes in, in the people that we're playing. Like we are those people, until, we hit that grounds of actually living that lifestyle, and you're like, I don't like it, or I didn't like the experience. So that's the advice that I gave him, wear a trench coat, with sunglasses, and go to New York City and explore your fantasy.
Do you think that one of the the things that a lot of people have with dealing with their sexuality is that they're too busy worried about being judged?
Of course, absolutely. I mean, for me, Freak Me Hard Erotic Sex Talk was for me because everybody said I was too honest, I was too real. Like, when it's a double standard society. A man could be with a billion women, and a woman can't do that. A woman has to be conservative and sweet, and she's not able to do that. And me, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to say what's on my mind. And regardless of what you call me, it doesn't affect me. Words do not affect me. So I'm going to say, this person I made love to or had sex with the other night and incorporate my experience with my audience. And they're going to love it because I'm not afraid to be judged because this is the person that I am. This is what I enjoy. And, I don't sugarcoat anything. This is why the fans love me. I don't sugarcoat anything. It is what it is.
How is that? I mean, most people, you get a lot of people that might be like in adult movies, adult podcasting. Is it like a lot of competition? Is it a lot of support? I know one thing in the podcasting arena. It's a lot of love. I mean, a lot of people help people. A lot of people give you tips. One of my mentors actually, he's considered the godfather of podcasting. He was the first. He's considered the first person to ever podcast. Um, I get a lot of advice from him. He does these shows where he gives a lot of advice, not just to me, but a lot of advice to pod. So I know like regular quote unquote podcasting, you get a lot of advice, or is it the same thing? It's like a good big family.
I think for me, it's giving a lot of advice is key because, like me, the difference with me and other podcasters that talk about sex is that I incorporate my learning with psychology. So I give people a way of thinking the what ifs, or the take for example the COVID. The COVID, it's like everybody has to remain separated. Everybody cannot touch each other. And, I said, love is a form of communication. It's a form of an excitement, just being happy, if you will. And if you have to isolate yourself from people, a lot of people become very miserable. So I feel that, being close to people, companionship, friendship, if you will, is something that is very important. That's, my opinion is we are here to love,
Okay. Yeah.
as humans. We're not here to fight. We're here to love and multiply and be fruitful and become many, if you will.
So let me ask you one of the things that we had discussed behind the scenes was when you're because you have to incorporate your training, your schooling, your education. Now you're basically giving people advice about sex. Do you think what do you think a lot of people when they do have the quote unquote relationship and that spice has gone? Like, what would you suggest for that individual or those individuals to really bring the spice into their relationship?
Well, one, I think that people lack, security. A lot of people are insecure. And when people stop having sex, they become insecure. They become, my body's not looking the way it used to in the beginning, or a male might feel the same way. I don't do it the way, or I don't do it as long, whatever the case may be. It's the insecurity that starts that. So, one thing that I said on my show for women in particular is stop asking if the sex was good after you have sex, because right there you're saying you're a little insecure about it. Was it good? Well, you know what? If it wasn't, I wouldn't be laying in the bed with you. So it's like, one thing we need to do is stop asking if it was good. You should have the confidence to know that you slayed it, you know. And for women, um, I give the advice of getting in touch with your vagina. Okay, I personally think a lot of women do not get in touch with their vagina, and it goes haywire when they have sex with people. The way you take care of yourself, like if you're in touch with your vagina, if you take a mirror, you look at it, you're like, hey, it's been a long time, you know? If you get in touch with those things that you never pay attention to and you're just every day it's a routine and you're jumping in the shower, then you're going to see that confidence like come out of you. You know, you have to be in touch with your sexual parts, your clitoris. You have to be in touch with all those things, because if you're not, somebody's going to tell you something that you're not aware of and you're going to be embarrassed. You know what I
And
mean?
that was one of the things that we discussed before about smells, and a lot of people have like an acidic diet,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
how the diet affects the chemistry and the smells and all that stuff. So, you think do you think that the fear of being told, like, you might have an issue down there, um,
I mean, I want to like talk about, like, with K Michelle. That's a perfect example. When what's his name, the rapper, I can't think of it now. He was a rapper, but he stated that she stunk, and she basically said, you didn't have, what's his name, I can't think. Basically, she basically said you didn't have to put me on blast like that. But K Michelle is like a prime example, like, of not being in touch with her vagina. Like, I have a name for my vagina. I think every woman should have a name for the vagina. I have a name for my vagina. I take my vagina out to get steamed or whatever. And, when I have an encounter, they love it. And the reason why they love it is because I love it. I treat it as such. Like, it's beautiful to me. A lot of women, they're like, oh, I don't like the way it looks. Just do what you got to do. And it's just like, if you don't like it, they won't like it either. So,
oh, I get I definitely understand the concept. I mean, you should take care of yourself and love it so other people can feel the same way.
absolutely.
Let's just say, for Kim Michelle's purposes, let's just say alleged, because
Yeah.
I don't know for a fact. So let's just say alleged. But anyway, so she was. It's funny that her response to that was more of, "Damn, why you put me on blast?" So probably she knows that it could be something in her diet, or just, like, it's most likely diet.
It's
Where,
always diet. I'm sorry for
no,
interrupting you,
no, go ahead.
but it's all like, even a man's semen. If a man has a terrible diet, it's going to be bad. Okay. And women, ladies, when it's bad and it stinks. Like, if they're drinking beer and they're not eating enough plant-based foods, it's going to be terrible. Same thing with women. Some women, like, if they eat garlic and fish, it kind of comes out of their pores. So it's just like, if you're going to have a nice night, don't eat those type of things.
You gotta do the Erica Badu. You gotta drink pineapple juice.
Yes, absolutely. No, because it does a trick. You eat, pineapple, you drink pineapple juice, you eat strawberries, it gives a different flavor to you know.
So one of the things, right? And it's funny that we're talking about body chemistry, and anybody in the chat that has any questions for this young lady, she'll be willing to answer any question. Any question you guys may have to ask, long as they remain. We want to, like always, have a mature adult conversation and be able to speak about these things in a mature way. Um, One of the issues that you hear a lot of times, Brazil, is a lot of people, to spice up their relationship, will bring in the third party. And then it's like cause conflict, because I've heard instances where the girl resisted at first, but after it happened, she liked it.
Right.
Or vice versa, the guy resisted at first, and then he clung to the stranger, so to say,
Right,
the
right.
one who came in the house. Like, do you think that? I'm not gonna put you on the spot or like, is that a good
Well,
thing?
you know, that's why.
We,
Why
do,
not?
no, what would be your assessment when if a couple came to you and they were both honest and talking to you about things that they wanted to spice up their bedroom activity, what would you tell them?
I mean, I would tell them that you're probably more so a promiscuous couple than an exclusive one, because like when you do that, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, but through my experience, I've been in three-way relationships, and I've seen people go crazy in the bedroom naked. And when you're in a promiscuous relationship, anything goes and there's no rules. When you're in a committed relationship and you add somebody in that relationship, you are opening the door for what ifs, what could happen. The trust issue. Maybe the husband or the wife liking the third party. You're giving the okay for that person to uh, say, you know what, I want to do it again, but I want to do it by myself. I mean, because a relationship, there's no rules. You customize it to, you customize it to, the man and the woman. There's no rules. So when you open a door to the third party, the woman could go crazy, and like beat down the door because the dick was so good. And here the wife is, like, well, I thought it was just going to be one time. Or the husband could like it, and do something behind the wife's back. And so I just think that it gives that opening for people to be more like bad, you know.
Do you think that a lot of
It's not a bad thing. If a couple is a couple, they're opening another can of worms. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, you think one of the you hear this a lot of times that a lot of people are just sexually compatible and
And then,
they'll try to they'll try to make it a relationship and it was really just a sexual compatible thing. Like a lot of people can't separate relationship from just sex and
absolutely,
vice versa.
absolutely. I feel that a lot of times people get it mixed up, especially when finding someone. I'll speak from a woman's point of view. And a male, sometimes we look visually, and visually isn't going to help you in a relationship if that's what you want. You know what I'm saying? I feel that people are sometimes they're in lust instead of in love, and they don't know it. So they're like, I'm really feeling this person, but it's more on a sexual level. So, that sexual level will, it'll go on, and it'll excel, but then the two parties don't have anything else in common as far as relationship, and it doesn't progress from there. So a lot of people do a lot of, just soul seeking, basically, and having sexual encounters and mixing lust up with love.
Or just casual sex and this is it. I don't want nothing else from this person but the sexual relationship. we
Right.
have we have a good sexual chemistry, but I don't want a relationship with this person, and it will go on like this for years. What do you think? Like, do you think these people that have these type of relationships? We're not judging
Right.
anybody, but
Right.
do you think these people are like really like fooling themselves?
I personally think that not. I wouldn't say that they're fooling themselves, but I think they're a bit confused because there is a clear definition of love. We know that love sets the foundation of a great relationship, and with sex isn't love. Sex is lust. You know what I'm saying? We could all enjoy sex, but the person could be a crappy person. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I think that people have to understand that it's bigger than, it's bigger than that. It's so much, it has to be a person that looks within a person in order for them to, in order for them to find true love, if you will.
One of
Is
one of the one of the things, and I think that a lot of it's not taboo, or it's just not talked about, or people may not share it as much as the introduction of toys into the relationship. What do you think about that?
I love toys. There's
Well, it's Adam and Eve. I mean, you sponsored by Adam and Eve, so I'm quite sure they have a wide range of accessories there.
me too, and I have to, as a single woman, I do get wrapped in my toys. They're not going to put me like they're not, it's not a relationship, but it's so good. It feels like one.
So you get some people that may say, I have a relationship with my toy, and nothing. They get to a point where nothing could satisfy them but that toy.
Right.
How do you think that they should tell the person? Okay, they got a toy. Then they got the person they're having sex with.
Right.
Do you think that they should tell the person they're having sex with, like, you don't really do it. I do it to please you. What does it for me is really my toy. Me and my toy have a relationship.
I think people need to be honest because a lot of times people get jealous of toys, especially if it could make a person climax quicker than what they can do. So it's important for people to be honest and to be open about the toys because 9 times out of 10, people get jealous of the toys. And the toys are winning. They are. If you have a toy in a relationship and it is so good, I have 2 toys. I could show them. I have 2 toys and they are absolutely incredible. And I find myself, and like with having my encounters, I'm like, that wasn't nothing compared to my toy. Get out of here. So, it's just, I feel that, it's not that a man has to fuck it up. It's a different, we're living in a different time. It's a lot of single women out there that are not, they're not settling. There's a lot of men out there that are, raised in a certain type of environment where they don't treat women right. And there are women out there as well that are raised in a certain environment where they don't treat men right. I mean,
Yeah, that's one of the conversations that me and you had prior, is that a lot of men nowadays got this major mommy issues, and and it affects how they view their view of women and what a woman is there for, from a quality, as I like to say, a quality woman,
right.
not just her sexually, but what do you think a good woman is worth? What would you be willing to um, do to be with that type of woman, and understand her, to get to know her spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, and you hear that a lot with women nowadays. That they say that the quality of men is real low. So I say that to say, like, in that situation where you have a relationship with your toy, now how can that affect the courtship? Like, somebody could be like trying to date you, and you'd be like, uh, I could tell you're not going to cut it out. You're not going to cut it because my toy does all the things that I needed to do.
Well, I think personally, if I'm dating someone, toys go in the attic because, for me, dating is more than sex. I do cater to my podcast for sex, but I look beyond the person's sexual acts and I look beyond their looks because really you have to teach a person. We all have to teach each other how to have sex because everybody's different. Everybody's different. So you want to be able to teach a person and let them know what you like in particular, what makes you feel good, what you don't like, what's too hard, what's too rough, what's too soft. In order for you to have a great relationship, you have to teach. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. I mean, if a person doesn't tell me how to do it, I'm probably going to fuck it up. And my partner, he or she, just like, what were you doing? What was that? You did that, and I didn't like it. So I think that that's like incredibly important for people to really like look beyond uh, the exterior of a person and to look within their hearts. I mean, I call it love lights.
Have that communication with the individual and tell them, you're touching me here, and you may think it's pleasing me, but it's not pleasing me. It's
Right.
actually it's actually turning me off. One of the and if anybody needs her link to her podcast, I will gladly give them to them. I'll put it in the groups, and anybody want to inbox me, I'll give them the link to her podcast. One of your podcasts is one of your shows, and I think I was going to listen to it, but I said I don't want to listen to too much because we're going to interview, we're going to have conversation, and I want our conversation to kind of catch you off guard that I know a little something about your podcast. One of your subject matters were faking orgasms. Speak to that. Speak to that, or what you believe, why people do that. What would be the reason why a person, I guess a woman, because I don't think a man could fake it. It would be very interesting if a man could fake an orgasm. But speak to why do you think women do that?
I know why women do it, because it takes a long time for us to climax, and if their partner is not hitting their G spot on head on, they're not going to come. So in order to satisfy a man or their partner, because it could be a man and a woman and a woman, they just fake it and say, "Oh, I came." And sometimes I'm pretty sure the person's still screaming while they stopped, So it's like, people don't understand that us as women, we could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and then like with the orgasm, there's the orgasm, and then there is us coming. There's two different parts to that. It's not one. And men have to understand that there's a certain way to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, and if you don't take the time, and you think you're Hercules jumping on a woman, she's going to take it.
And that happens a lot. You hear stories where
absolutely
a woman will say, I never had an orgasm until I was 28 or 30 or 35 or 40. Yeah. Some women say they never had an orgasm.
Yeah.
Do you think that comes from? I personally believe a woman knows her body. Do you think that comes from the communication aspect? Like, you have to communicate if you're going to have sex with an individual. And a lot of us think that sex is more spiritual, so to say, because you're letting off energy. If you're going to have sex with someone, you should at least tell them what pleases you.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Sex is about energy. A lot of times when people have sex with people and a person may have negative tendencies, they'll take that with them. So that is very true. Sex does, when people interact with each other, they do exchange energy. I do believe that wholeheartedly. But I just think that women, and because like you said, and like I know men can't fake it, but women are more so of a pleaser. So sometimes they don't want to hurt their feelings, and they'll just go on and just say, "Oh, I came." But what that does is that just creates a long-term, road of unhappy sex, where she's lying basically. And we do it just to get it over with, to Oh, did you come? Oh, great. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. I loved it. You know, fireworks. I saw fireworks, and then, oh my god, it was so late. And then we just
Yeah,
rolled asleep. You
yeah,
know,
because the communication is all jacked up, and
right,
the understanding of sex and a relationship is all jacked up as well.
right.
Um,
And a lot of times, women think too much because men are physical and women are visual. This is what makes women come. They're visual people. They're visual. They like the flowers. They like the talking. They like the looking in the face and the talking. Men are physical. They like the tits, the ass. They're good, as long as you got it in the right places and you don't got a third eye, they're gonna do what they. They're not so much. There are men out there that are more of a visual and mental. There are men out there. So I'm not trying to say no men are, visual and mental, but a lot of men are physical. So they, to please a woman, it goes right over their head, and they miss it. They miss that boat.
do you think that with having a podcast, you're playing, you're able to speak to a fantasy that an individual may have in their mind, like your topics. Just look at your topics. What makes you choose the topics to talk about? What goes into your thought process on the topics to talk about?
Well, for me, like erotic sex talk, those two words, things that people usually wouldn't talk about. And there's some closet people that will want to listen to those stories or the talks. There are millions of people out there where they have a set of friends, but it's just not a good idea to explore certain things that they would probably want to explore. So when I go into the topics, I go into the topics that would shock people, basically, and put them like, "Eh, I'll listen to it." I did a topic on prison rape. I found it to be very interesting, but it gave me insight on how it turns men out from being in prison. Not all of them, but some of them. Like sexual behavior has so much to do with a person's environment and experience. And a man could go into prison straight as an arrow and come out a down low guy or completely gay. So I feel that I pick the topics that that I'm interested in. I don't know. I give the audience, if you would like to give suggestions, please give me a suggestion and I'll research it. But they're pretty much topics that I'm like, I wonder what that would be like. And a lot of times I learn a lot from my research.
Do you think sometimes, like, I don't, like, I used the word fooling ourselves earlier. I don't want to say we're fooling ourselves. Do you think when we discuss this topic and why it's so hard, why it's always a taboo, is because we have a myth in our head, like we're not supposed to talk about that. Like,
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, from birth, I know personally through my experience that a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're such a slut," and I'm like, "Thank you." Like it's not that I'm a slut, but because I'm talking about something I want to talk about, you think that I'm a slut. It's to me, it's a form of control. A lot of people aren't allowed to talk about sex. A lot of people are very religious, and I'm not a religious person. I don't judge, but getting married after before sex isn't going to make the relationship last any more than having sex before marriage. And the reason why I say that is because you may not like the compatibility might not click. It just might not. And statistically, I'm not seeing I don't see that much of a huge difference between people getting married and staying together. and people, you know, having sex with someone and staying together, and the divorce rate within those two categories. Like, I feel that people really need to get to know each other, because again, like, I sometimes when I date and I meet people, I'm like, where did that person come from? And of course, you're meeting their representative, I guess. So, but it's just,
Do you think a lot of people confuse being sexual and being and sex? Like it's a way to be very sexual
yeah, yeah,
without the physical touch.
yeah,
Do you think one of the reasons, well, like I used the analogy earlier about the married couple that needs to spice up their bedroom action? Do you think that he and she needs to realize like this, like why does she like you wearing this particular cologne,
right,
or why does he like you wearing his shorts and his tank top or his football jersey or whatever turns a person on? Um, you think one of the issues is that maybe like she may not feel sexy. Like you can hear a lot like with women, and it happens with men. I think just as men just have the ego.
right,
A woman may feel like, I gained 10 pounds. I don't feel like I'm pretty enough for you
right,
anymore. I don't feel myself. So it affects the sex life.
right.
Um, what would be like some advice you would speak to that type of individual?
Well, I think that women have to see, like it's very hard to do, but you have to first love yourself. If you don't love yourself, nobody else will, and it's very important to find yourself, especially with women who have had children, with the postpartum and things of that nature. They don't feel like doing their hair. It's a lot for a woman to come out of that, giving birth and stuff like that. So my suggestion for a woman is to, like I said, find get to know yourself again. Take yourself out to the spa if you can afford it. Get your nails done. Get your hair done. It's very hard to just to like sit back and just like, I'm just not, I don't got it anymore. If you got a little weight, work with it. I'm a thick woman. I work with what I got and I love it. Regardless if I'm smaller or I'm bigger, I know I am bigger and badder. That's how I look at it. And women need to see that within themselves. And I feel that society and the media, they portray women to look a certain way and to be a certain skin tone. Well, now everybody's blackfishing, so it's a little different, but you know,
But
I
you're but women, as they say, women are required to be strong all the time, even when they don't have to be, even when they're not feeling strong. Society has to, like, for example, and we're not gonna make it a racial talk,
right,
but
right,
black women can never let their guard down and not be strong. It's like a myth that a black woman has to always be strong, where she can't be weak, she can't cry, she can't show that emotion publicly, and she always has to be the mother, the strong black woman, sort of say. It's always she has to be that way.
right. But I agree, but I do feel in a black community, like we are like taught to, what is it, like, to deal with our own problems. Like we're not taught to go to a psychiatrist until we grow up and we kind of find it on our own, but a lot of times I feel I don't see, a lot of my African American friends going to psychologists, and I think it's very helpful, because what I see a lot of his relationships blowing up in people's faces because they're not talking about it. It could be so simple, like it could be so simple from like a position, like a person's doing missionary all the time and they might want doggy style or something like that. Like, people have to be open to, like, just being open to pleasing their mate, their partner. That's what it's about. Like, if your partner wants you to wear a clown suit, wear a clown suit. I would with the red nose and everything. Like if that turned you on, then I'm wearing a clown suit, buddy.
Communication is key.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and this is, like I said, this is her code. If you go www.adamandeve.com, I've never been on the site, but I'm quite sure they sell the grown and mature stuff on the site. And her offer code is when you're about to check out, the offer code is Freak Me. She's sponsored by Adam and Eve. Um, wow, interesting conversation, man. Interesting conversation. But I do. One of the things that we keep alluding to is communication, and I think I definitely agree with you that a lot of times um, it's a communication gap going on, and it could be simple, like you said. Uh, she may like a different position, and dude, you keep doing the same position, it's boring. Or vice versa, somebody might like a little spice. They might want one leg up in the air,
Yeah.
or as they say, I want spontaneous sex. I don't want planned sex. I don't want the
Right.
oh you
Right.
know what we used to go out and have fun and almost get caught having sex in a car. Like, you don't do that no more. Like, it's no fun, it's no thrill. It's like the endorphins aren't even flowing anymore because I don't even feel like we're doing something that we
Right.
shouldn't be doing.
And that's what
Even if you could be, you could love the person. That's a different thing. We're just talking about strictly sex. Like, you guys might have done some crazy stuff together, and it's just like,
it stops.
okay, it just stopped. We're just, once a week, once a month, or whatever, and it's just plain. It's a way of you're having an orgasm, I have an orgasm, but it's no spice to it, sort of say. Like, they need the element. Like my cousin just put in the thing. People need the element of surprise,
Right.
like the spontaneous, and then you get that. You get some, like, you may have a female might be real spontaneous. The guy may not be.
Exactly.
So having that communication, having that conversation, um, even if they're together, go out on a date and talk about it, share it. So, is it anything else you'd like to talk about? I mean, I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm quite sure we're gonna have you back on.
Oh, I hope so. I enjoy talking about sex all the time. I, no, I honestly, I really do love to give advice because a lot of people are like, and then they're just minor glitches in a relationship. Like people don't understand that, men are sensitive and so are females. And sometimes females think that men aren't sensitive and men are sensitive. They're very prideful, and, if a man wants to pursue a serious relationship with you, be open to different sexual encounters, behaviors, because if not, then like people start to wonder, and it's a natural thing.
Like for a lot of people, they just love to chase.
Yeah,
They don't even wait. They don't even. It's not even about getting, as we would say. I'm gonna say the cookie. It's not even about the cookie. It's the intellectual sex. It's the
right,
intellectual foreplay.
right,
Like,
exactly.
I want you. I know you want me. We're having a tug of war. We're having fun playing this game, and the game is fun and it's exciting, and it could be like really like motivating, and you just keep doing it, and it ain't even about really having the sex. It's just a game, like,
Just to see if they
you
could get
know.
the person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
And
I really appreciate you joining me tonight. Stay on. We're gonna finish the conversation, some more of the conversation behind the scene. Everybody in the chat, I appreciate you guys. As my cousin said, verbal intercourse. Yes, you're right. Um, Everybody in the chat, appreciate you guys. This is hopefully a conversation that we will continue at another time with the Let's Talk After Dark segment. I know that a bunch of people had questions before when we discussed having this type of show. So hopefully going forward, we'll have some pre-questions that I could ask her, and we could discuss it on the show. And like I said, I appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. And we're gonna close the show out. I just want to show something. And you guys take care. And remember to hit the like button. Remember, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share. That's the least you can do to support the channel and the page. Her podcast is on Spotify. Just look under Freak Me Harder Erotic Sex Talk, and you'll find it. If you need to find the link, I can send you the link myself. And you guys have a nice night.